Welcome everybody to this video seminar on the 13 ghost points as a progression in Chinese medicine as created or at least put together by Sun Si Miao. Sun Si Miao was a 7th century physician from the Tang dynasty. Everybody should know that Sun Si Miao didn't actually invent the ghost points in Chinese medicine. He actually wandered around and collected a lot of information from all different parts of China. So he didn't create them. He just found the ones that he liked and put them into a progression. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at the progression. So here's a picture of Sun Si Miao. I don't even know if this is how he looks, but now you have a completely biased imagination of what he might look like. So he could be this old guy. But the interesting fact, he didn't write his first book until he was 69 years old. So you got lots of time, everybody. But what we're going to do, which is very important, we're going to look at the points as a progression theory. So they start off on the external and go more deeper and deeper and deeper into the internal. Just like Wenbing, just like Shanhan, just like 12 primary channel continuum theory, which is my favorite right now. But they are the external points going deeper and deeper and deeper. And what we're also going to do, we're going to look at the points in groups of threes. And I'm going to be referring to them as trinities. So each set of ghost points comes in a group of three, and they'll keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is really a very Taoist way of thinking. And it's just constantly thinking of heaven, humanity, and earth. Part of their whole groups of threes. It's very prominent in Taoist teachings. So here we go. Let's look at them. Entering into the first trinity. You see, the first trinity contains Du 26, Lung 11, and Spleen 1. You can see that there's one Du channel point and two Tai Yin points. The Tai Yin points represent where the exterior enters the interior. And they are also two Jing Well points. So Lung 11 and Spleen 1 of the first trinity represent where the exterior enters the interior with the Tai Yin as well as two Jing Well points. Looking at the very first point of the first trinity, sets of three, which is Du 26, Ghost Palace. The palace is your human body. This is where the ghost enters your body, which is your palace. Your palace. It's your house. It's what constitutes as you. The ghost is now inside your palace and house. Du 26 is known as the center of humanity. And what's really important in the significance of this point is that the center of humanity, Du 26, is between your nose and your mouth, with your nose above and your mouth below. This representing qi and this representing food. Du 26 Renjiang is said to be the distal point for Ren 17 Danjiang, correlating to the chest. Du 26 bringing things out to the exterior, and Ren 17 working on the interior. Du 26 has the ability to resuscitate yang. So it has the ability to use yang energies to get rid of a pathogenic factor or a ghost or an idea that some jackass said and you decided to take in and kick it out of your body. In the first trinity with Du 26, the sensory organs start to become affected. Your body starts unconsciously, it starts to unconsciously react to something that's not supposed to be there, not supposed to be able to see it or hear it, but it's becoming part of your reality. You're supposed to bleed Du 26 before it gets into the Tai Yin, the lungs or the spleen. Next is the second point of the first trinity. Long 11, ghost faith. Gui Xin, lesser shang, meaning lesser metal. The ghost has now gained your trust, and you start believing in the ghost's ideas. You think the ghost's ideas are now your own ideas. You start to see changes in the person's behavior and subtle changes in their appetite. Food and breathing is affected. The person now doesn't notice the changes as being odd because the ghost is inside them and they feel like it's a part of them. So it's not strange. Long 11 opens up to the throat. So you may see changes in the person's voice, articulation problems, and phlegm accumulation. They become susceptible to exterior changes, such as the temperature and light, meaning wind. The person is now susceptible to wind. They become very sensitive to yang. Remember, ghosts, Po, are very yin in nature. They are fluid. They are not qi, they are not energy, but they are yin. And so they become sensitive to yang. You see a person at this stage with lung 11 to have spitting. Spit is the fluid of the kidneys. And this is the body trying to get rid of the ghost, which is trying to violate the self. The self being the kidneys. All right. Good. We're going to be motoring through this a little bit so we can get things done on time. So it may be a lot to take in, but everyone here is going to love it. So, the third point in the first trinity, spleen 1, the eye of the ghost. You're supposed to moxa this point. The ghost is now building a fortress with walls, phlegm, inside of your body, your palace, causing further separation from the exterior world. With this point, you begin to see the world through the eyes of the ghost. The ghost entices you to separate yourself from other people and isolate yourself. This is the third point, and remember, it's another Jingwell and a Tai Yin point. The person becomes a little bit manic and a little bit depressed, and they can alternate between the two. At this stage, they start to disengage with people. Because the more you talk to people, the more the people start acknowledging the ghost. And this upsets you. It makes you manic. So it's easier for the ghost to take over you if you are alone. At this point, you start to see the world with the eyes of the ghost. And we treat spleen 1 with moxa. Spleen 1, especially with moxa, unbinds the chest, and it also calms the shen as a Jingwell point. So in the first trinity, we start to see a person losing basic survival necessity techniques like eating, breathing, and sleeping. All the things necessary for survival are the first things to be attacked upon. What generates your postnatal chi are starting to suffer just a little bit. Postnatal chi is beginning to get disrupted. Something from the exterior is making its way inside of your palace.
Master! I have... It's very bad news.
Shifu. There is just news. There is no good or bad.
Master, your vision was right. Tai Lung has broken out of prison. He's on his way.
That is bad news. If you do not believe that the Dragon Warrior can stop him.
The panda? Master, that panda is not the Dragon Warrior. He wasn't even meant to be here. It was an accident.
There are no accidents.
Yes, I know. You've said that already. Twice.
Well, that was no accident either.
Thrice.
My old friend, the panda will never fulfill his destiny, nor you yours, until you let go of the illusion of control.
Illusion?
Yes. Look at this tree, Shifu. I cannot make it blossom when it suits me, nor make it bear fruit before its time.
But there are things we can control. I can control when the fruit will fall. And I can control where to plant the seed. Hiya! That is no illusion, Master.
Ah, yes. But no matter what you do, that seed will grow to be a peach tree. You may wish for an apple or an orange, but you will get a peach.
But a peach cannot defeat Tai Lung.
Maybe it can, if you are willing to guide it, to nurture it, to believe in it.
But how? How? I need your help, Master.
No, you just need to believe. Promise me, Shifu. Promise me you will believe.
I will try.
Good. My time has come. You must continue your journey without me.
What are you... What? Master! You can't leave me.
You must believe.
Master!
Oh, I let the whole clip run because it makes you emotional. And it's really important with what we're looking at right now. See, the big turtle, Oogway, is a prime example of understanding the lungs and the large intestine as being part of the external part of the body. Seeing metal as morality and the ability of letting go and releasing. You see, Oogway doesn't let his uprightness affect him. He doesn't let good and bad affect him. And consequently, everything that comes to him, he lets go. So he never has to internalize anything. He never has to go through the suffering of the experiences because he can let go. The whole part of metal and its morality, metal and its uprightness. Because as soon as you make a decision that something is good or something is bad, you go into a sense of polarity and you have to remedy it. Moving on to the next points. Moving into the second trinity of 3 sets of points. Pericardium 7, urinary bladder 62, and dew 16. These points are reaching for the chest, the feet, and the brain. And following, we will see their significance. Beginning with the first point of the second trinity, pericardium 7, ghost heart, great mound. Bleed this point. With ghost heart, the ghost tries to get you to go to physical places of your past, as well as into old habit patterns. It knows your physical attachments, which are yin. Remember this. Ghost has now captured your emotions. The ghost now begins to have access to your dreams. So PC7, Great Mound. We have to remember that mounds are made by man. They don't happen naturally in nature, and they're often thought of as an accumulation of yin. Mounds are yin in nature. Mounds can be emotional trauma stored in a place. The ghost with pericardium 7 takes you to places of your past, and it also creates dreams for you now. It looks for regrets, tries to take you anywhere but your own sovereign future. In the fourth point, pericardium 7, you begin to have uncontrolled emotions. The ghost is trying to have heart access or pericardium access, and there's uncontrolled laughter or crying, depending. Pericardium 7 clears heat in the blood. It cools heat to help resolve the symptoms. So, from the first point affecting your dreams, we move into the fifth point, urinary bladder 62, the ghost pathway. There's something important to notice about this specific point, is that it is part of the Yang Chao Mai. It's part of the walking vessel. It has great significance because this is how you get to go and move yourself between time and space. With this point, when the ghost is here, you are now walking the ghost-chosen pathway and no longer your own. The dreams that the ghost has been creating start to slowly now become your reality. Here's where the ghost will fight with anyone who questions it, probably your friends and family. Again, noticing that the Yang Chao Mai in the walking vessel is involved. First, the ghost creates the dreams, and then you actually physically start walking to them. Things that upset you from your past or wherever the ghost wants to go versus your own sovereign reality. We know that the Yang Chao Mai relates to wind. And here we see a lot of agitation within the person. The person may go to extremes and try to faint to avoid interacting with anybody or having an outburst of anger instead of confronting what is actually going on. Within the first trinity, we saw heat developing into dampness or cold. Cold also being a yin factor. Remember, yin, ghosts are yin. And in the second trinity, we begin to see more uncontrollable heat signs. On to Dew 16, Ghost Pillow, the last point of the second trinity. Dew 16, Ghost Pillow, the warehouse of wind. This is where the ghost starts to gain access to your brain, means your marrow and your experiences. The ghost makes the dreams of your life feel more real than reality. The ghost now begins to make you forget selective memories, and you go to sleep with the ghost. Because it's affecting your brain and your memories, the person within this point will have problem articulating, and they will become less reliant on their memories, meaning the ghost will be restricting and messing with your memories. So when someone asks you something, you won't even know the answer from it. Something you should know that your friend asks you, you go, I don't really know. The ghost is restricting your memory. Your dreams are becoming more real than reality. And also, something specific about this point is this is the beginning of suicidal tendencies, where the ghost is attempting to take your life. It begins to affect your intelligence. In this point, a person can feel paralyzed or unable to act. Their legs feel restless. You see a lot of symptoms and signs affecting the nerves, affecting the chi. So within the second trinity, we see a lot more yang signs. We see it affecting the dreams, and we are becoming a lot more like the ghost and a lot less like the self. He's beginning to take hold. Or she ghost.
I spent my last dollar getting here. One way ticket, and you're talking to me about healing through belief.
You're a man looking at the world through a keyhole, and you've spent your whole life trying to widen that keyhole, to see more, to know more. And now, on hearing that it can be widened in ways you can't imagine, you reject the possibility.
No, I reject it because I do not believe in fairy tales about chakras or energy or the power of belief. There is no such thing as spirit. We are made of matter and nothing more. You're just another tiny momentary speck within an indifferent universe.
You think too little of yourself.
Oh, you think you see through me, do you? Well, you don't. But I see through you! What did you just do to me?
I pushed your astral form out of your physical form.
What's in that tea? Psilocybin? LSD?
It's just tea. With a little honey.
This here is hinting at us to take a look at our own perception and deception filters. And we're taking a look at what happens when things become internalized. What happens when things enter the level of the stomach, and how the stomach builds, the stomach collects, the stomach feels the thoughts, the feelings, all the emotions that you feel in the food that you eat, and they become you. The stomach puts it all together, and then the spleen ends up banking those thoughts, feelings, emotions, and they become you. The stomach collects them, the spleen banks them up into the blood and brings them to the heart, and the heart circulates them around your body. Understanding the consciousness, the Shen inside of your blood that your stomach felt and your spleen banked. Entering the third trinity, the seventh point in a ghost point sequence or continuum, moving from the external deeper and deeper and deeper within the body and within your yin essence and substances. The points of the third trinity are stomach 6, Ren 24, and pericardium 8. Within the third trinity, we see the first Ren point, and we see the ghost becoming part of the body, entering the earth and creating boundaries for yourself. The seventh point, stomach 6, ghost bed. This is where you have woken up in the ghost bed. You're lying in bed a lot, and the ghost starts to turn off more of your sensory organs. At stomach 6, the ghost bed, the person becomes even more introverted, cutting themselves off from society, cutting themselves off from resources and help. The person also becomes very rigid within their life. They do the same things over and over, and they become less open to creativity. This is in part because their sensors and their sensory organs are becoming more and more shut down. They stay in bed a lot. The person's lethargic. They don't want to do anything. They mope around. At this point, at stomach 6 on the jaw, the person has problems chewing. They cannot process anymore. They cannot assimilate any more information. They can't chew it. They can't process it. They cannot assimilate it. And since they can't process anything anymore, this person will look like they're not paying attention. They look like they're not listening to you. And that's because they've lost the ability to process anymore. Their sensory organs are becoming more shut down. With closed senses, the pure yang becomes even more shut off. Next is the 8th point, Ren 24, ghost market. We're starting to get an understanding now that the body is your temple. You are made of yin. You are made of bones, blood, fluids, DNA. Every aspect of your body is yin compared to the greater essences of qi, everything in existence. Ren 24, the ghost market, the container of fluids. The ghost tries to avoid and cut off the resources entering and being created in your body. The ghost is restraining the food and drink from being processed. Ren 24 is the saucepan. It's the fluid of reception. It's the fluid receptacle. It's what takes in fluids. At this point, you see the person having foaming from their mouth. Stuff is coming out of their mouth. They're drooling and food just pops out. All of a sudden, a person will be eating, and for some reason, they can't, and food comes out of their mouth. It's unmistakable. You see the drooling, and this is the body because of the ghost not wanting to assimilate life. It's rejecting the fluids, and it's rejecting the food. It's rejecting any postnatal life force. At this stage of the game, at Ren 24, you start to see undigested food, and not just in the food, but in undigested food in the stool and in the poop. There's lots of dryness, and especially in the mouth, because the ghost is starving the body of fluids. You are made of yin fluids, and without them, you cannot survive. Ren 24 is often used for diabetics to restore yin. Pericardium 8, Ghost Cave, the last point of the third trinity. You have now entered the cave of the ghost and become even more isolated. Now you want to sleep all of the time. You lose control of your lower sphincter. Personally, I love Pericardium 8 as a point, as the fire of fire point, and name the palace of toil. How it's so related to our desires, and it's placed on our hands. Our hands are how we grab our desires. Without them, we couldn't hold on to them. We couldn't hold on to what we dream and want to accomplish. At this stage of the game, the person is now vomiting bile. They have nausea, stomach fire, and agitation as well, but they're reached the stage where the bile is affected. They have extreme episodes of fear. They have gas and loss of control of the sphincter. They have diarrhea and undigested food. At this point, the person has no wanting to engage whatsoever. You see this person, they like to sit in total darkness, like a cave. They don't want to be disturbed. They're very depressed. And they're starting to lose weight because of the inactivity. They're starting to waste away. They're starting to lose their own life force. As a summary of the third trinity, within the third trinity of points, we see a person staying at home and starting to begin to live like a hermit. They cut themselves off from society. They have no intention of interacting with other people. In the third trinity, you see alcoholics also begin to gather. They start to use alcohol and drinking to fire up their yang. They have no other alternative but to use alcohol to fire up their yang, to get their passions going, because they are often become so depressed. But the other aspect, beside bars and seeing them with alcoholics, is that in the third trinity, you also see people within insane asylums, with the mad. This is where people with ghosts tend to surround themselves with other people with ghosts. They prefer the company of other ghosts because it makes them feel more secure and less disturbed. At this stage within the third trinity, unless a person becomes medicated, their symptoms often worsen. They become more persuaded towards suicide. The body, especially in the third trinity, is trying to deprive the self of valuable nutrients and move the person into suicide. The ghost is trying to steal your incarnation. It's trying to steal your purposes. It's trying to steal your body and use it for its own.
Chiswick, you're voluntary?
Mm-hmm.
Scanlon? Billy, for Christ's sakes, you must be committed, right?
No.
Okay. You're just a young kid. What are you doing here? You ought to be out in a convertible, bird dogging chicks and banging beaver. What are you doing here, for Christ's sake? What's so funny about that?
Well,
Jesus, I mean, you guys do nothing but complain about how you can't stand it in this place here, and then you haven't got the guts just to walk out? I mean, what do you think you are, for Christ's sake, crazy or something? Well, you're not. You're not. You're no crazier than the average asshole out walking around on the streets, and that's it. Jesus Christ, I can't even believe it.
Great film. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is almost 50 years old now. Here we see the insanity. We see the ghosts, and how the ghosts like to surround themselves with other ghosts. There's a madness to the reality, and the madness almost becomes more real than the everyday reality. The 10th point and the first point of the fourth trinity. Due 23, Ghost Hall. Upper Star. The ghost has taken over your bright hall and claimed it as its own. The ghost begins physical self-harm to you, the self, and tries to move you towards suicide. 223, the bright hall, Ghost Hall, has been infected. The sensory organs are strongly affected. Named Upper Star is like the portal of energies coming into your head from heaven. The senses become blocked. The portals are subsequently blocked. It is here at the Great Hall, or the Ghost Hall, where the portals are sealed from entering and exiting. So everything facing heaven is no longer entering the body. 223, as an acupuncture point, treats sensory loss. And it also treats bleeding. At this stage of the game, at 223 in the fourth trinity, we begin to see the person to cut themselves. They physically try to harm themselves. They smash themselves up against cars. They ram themselves up against walls. They physically, in keywords, physically start to put themselves into dangerous situations to try to physically harm the body and to kill the person. It starts to get very serious within the fourth trinity. Before, it was just trying to move you towards suicide by starvation. But now it has control of the body and is physically trying to speed up the process. Yes, it is quite amazing, isn't it? Looking at all these points as a continuum, moving deeper into the body. Next, we look at the 11th point, the second in the fourth trinity. Ren 1, the ghost store. The meeting of yin. The ghost tries to enter where the sea of Ren, Du, and Chong all originate and trap itself inside the body. So what we saw before at Du 23, the upper seal of the body, heaven. And now at Ren 1, we see the lower seal of the body. So we have heaven affected and earth affected, trapping everything within the body. This is the locking mechanism. This is starving out the body from receiving any life force from heaven above or earth below. Upper seal, Du 23, or lower seal, Ren 1. The ghost has gained access to the sea of yin, Ren 1. It has gained access to all of you. It has gained access to the Chong, the Ren, and the Du. It has access to your blueprint, your DNA, what creates you. It can basically manipulate all aspects of yourself at whim and tell it, no, I do not want you to do this. In this trinity, in the fourth trinity, we see Ren and Du together. This is the first trinity that we see Ren and Du come together. In this, at Ren 1, we start to see cold and catatonic states emerge. We see even more yin factors. As an acupuncture point, Ren 1 resuscitates yang, classically used for drowning. But if you look at this more philosophically, you can think of it as a person drowning in their own sorrow. They're drowning in their own filth, drowning in their own misery, drowning in their own loss of life force. So that's what makes Ren 1 good for restoring the yang, resuscitating the yang. You use moxa on this point, Ren 1. Moxa breaks the ghost seal. It breaks up the yin, the phlegm, everything that is trapping the ghost inside your body. Moxa breaks it up. So, Li-11, the last point of the fourth trinity, is a bit different than the other points up till now. At lung 11, this point is used to open up the person to the cosmic chi, not the ghost, and to rattle the ghost out of the body. Since the ghost has already made it to Ren 1 and Du 23, it's already made it to where all things originate. So with lung 11, you're trying to gain access to the cosmic chi. You're trying to open up the head. You're trying to open up the throat. You're trying to allow everything to pour in to the body. Like prayer, lung 11 allows the spirit to come in. Lung 11 is typically needled with the elbow bent and the hands placed on the chest, like in a prayer position, bringing in the spirit. You want to open this point, and by opening it, it means not to tonify or decrease it, but to just even needle it. This point helps the person to get a grip on their life. It tries to get them out of their sorrow. It helps to realize where they are and to see the ghost as the distraction that it is, to see how far the ghost has taken the person away from the purpose of their life and see how much it has mucked up what they're trying to accomplish. So Li-11 is trying to get the person to do something about it. It's a ghost leg, and you're trying to take the legs away from the ghost so you can start taking control of your own destiny again, with just a little help of the cosmic chi of the heavens. Is all the little boost you need so you can create a prayer to change your life and get yourself back onto your own feet. So within the fourth trinity, we start to see psychosomatic blindness, deafness, loss of smell. All the sensory portals are pretty much closed, and the person's senses to the outside world are all greatly diminished. And now a person is at a precipice between suicide or life, between extreme darkness and the light of the living. This is what the fourth trinity represents. The sealing of the ghost within your body, or the reclamation of your soul. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to the last point of this whole entire sequence, an extra point, part of the fourth trinity or seen as an extra point, which is Yin Tong, the ghost seal, the hall of impression. So the extra point, Yin Tong, the ghost seal, can also be seen as Hai Quan on the tongue. This is the seal of the ghost. When the ghost reaches this state in a sealed heaven and sealed earth, which has sealed above and sealed below, vitality is no longer going into the body or out of the body. The body is essentially becoming like a dried out raisin. It is dying. There's no more life force. The third eye being able to see the truth, or the tongue being able to speak the person's own heart truth, are both no longer working in function with your purpose. It's recommended to bleed or plum blossom, needling to release the ghost, and with the intention to kick the ghost out of your palace, out of your body, out of your life, out of what you choose to do in your future going forth, and then to seal in your own spirit, your own life force, and your own integrity. Here is an interesting article.
The lab of Luc Montagnier was studying radio frequencies emitted by DNA. In the last of a series of truly boggling experiments, they placed a string of DNA into a vial of water and stimulated the vial with various radio frequencies. Then filter out the DNA. This leaves just water, but the water is now emitting radio frequencies, which it somehow got from the DNA. Place an antenna around the vial of water and send that signal to a second lab several miles away. In this other lab, you have a second test tube that contains water and all the individual building blocks of DNA. Broadcast our signal into the second vial. In a few hours, the original DNA strand will be constructed in the second vial. Sounds like magic, and I guess it is, but it is also experimental data. Water can hold the radio frequency signal, which can be used to rebuild the DNA sequence from raw materials.
I added this clip just to show how important water is for the spirit. Water, the element that gives birth to all things. Water that is yin in nature. That's which holds, collects, and creates things, giving birth. How our DNA can be programmed by spirit, or how our DNA can be programmed by electromagnetic waves. I'm pretty much just trying to inspire, to create and give new ideas, and challenge belief systems, so you can see new things and have fun playing in the playground of your own new creations. So, being completely strapped for time, and already going long already, I'm closing now. So, this is just a brief introduction to see the progression theory of the ghost points. You can see how people can be possessed by ghosts, but people can also be possessed by themselves. They can be possessed by their own obsessions and addictions, their own habit patterns, and their own thoughts. That which builds up into the blood, and that which becomes integrated into the individual. And eventually, these negative thoughts and emotions can take over our own beingness. And we have ghosts. So here's an introductory of the ghost points. I hope everybody enjoys and continues to have a wonderful day. If you watch this now, or if you're watching this later, I could easily have gone 4 or 5, 6 times as long here, but this is what we have for this recording. Bye-bye.